Hello and welcome to another edition of All Access Event Planning. I'm James Lott Jr. of JLJ Media, and he actually is my first guest, I think, on the show. You have to start somewhere because you never forget your first.
Thanks.
But this is somebody that is on the same coast as me. He's up in Portland, Oregon, which I love that city. It's very green. I love greenery. And he has this fundraising app and thing he's working on. It's called schoolauction.net. We're going to talk about what that is, what that does, what he does, how he founded it, and why it might be beneficial to you if you're a nonprofit or a school. Because on this show, we talk about all aspects of event planning, and schools always have events, and they're always
That they do.
yes, they do. Help me welcome founder Roger Devine. Hi, Roger.
Hey there, James. How are you?
I am good. How are you today, sir?
Today's a great day.
It is a good day. It's a really good day.
Yeah.
So I was like, when because he came across. I say I'm an old person. He came across my desk. And I don't have to say that. I still say Rolodex. I say all that stuff. Uh,
Sure.
Came across my desk. And I was like, oh, I said, I love it because I do have some more guests coming on the show. But I said, I like talking about all aspects of event planning. And he mentioned one of my shows and how I talk about certain things. I'm like, yes, and this show, as you guys know at home, I'm guiding you through from my 20 years of experience of event planning, all the different things that go into it, different facets. This gentleman here, like I said, you heard the name, School Auction. You're hearing that. So let's find out what that means. So Roger, what is this schoolauction.net? Let's start there. What is it?
Sure. Well, it is a product that my company has developed. It's a piece of software, and it is designed for the event planner who needs to put on a fundraising gala. Or things have evolved over the years. Now there's lots of online types of events you can do too, but the traditional use of the software is, a school or some other grassroots charity, some local nonprofit. Those tend to be our customers, the ones we want to. I'm not chasing the American Cancer Society. I'm chasing the local elementary school that's putting on a fundraising event there. Those are who I want to work with. Um, and fundraising gala is a very interesting type of event. I will tell you that my analogy for them is that they're a department store that's only open for 6 hours a year. Because usually when you walk in the door to a fundraising gala, there are going to be multiple ways in which you could contribute to the organization that's putting it on. You might bid in a silent auction. You might bid in a live auction. You might buy raffle tickets. You might sign up for some future events. There's a smorgasbord, and every guest is going to spend their money in a slightly different way. So I like to think of it as, these are all the boutiques in your event here, and your people are going to visit the different boutiques and spend money in their own ways there. And at the end, everybody will be happy, and they will raise a lot of money for the organization. At least that's the theory. Um, as you can imagine, with multiple boutiques like this, a silent auction, a live auction, a raffle, some sign up parties, a bunch of things like this, a special appeal, it's a complicated event. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of pieces that go on. So when we started the company, I will say that I had a stake in how well we did. I was a PTA president. My kid was in second grade. I'm PTA president, and I have a long career in software development on the sales and marketing side. And I got laid off. I got laid off from my .com gig up here. It was, stuff happens. And I do what you do when you do that. You print up little business cards that say consultant. And I walked around, trying to figure out who I was and what I was doing,
I did too.
and wound
I did too.
and wound up at a meeting of our local schools foundation where they were talking about maybe putting together some sort of a joint buying program for vendors and services that schools might engage with to help produce fundraisers. And I went up and I said, afterwards I asked them, what about software? And they're like, software? I'm like, yeah, software. I'm a software guy. There's got to be software that helps with these things, right? And they're like, there's these guys on the other side of town, and you should talk to them. And she put me in touch with these. And these are two guys who had just built a system for their wives to use at the local school auction. They were thinking they wanted to turn it into a company. The hell, I wasn't doing anything else at the time. Let's go for it. And we put together this software. There are things that we have learned along the way that have made the software so much better, and us as a company so much better. One of them, which I think will be interesting for your audience, is that very few of the people I'm working with actually are event planners. Most of the people that I'm working with, especially down at the local elementary school, they're simply good-hearted people who volunteered for something they didn't understand at the wrong time. And they got stuck with a 600-hour volunteer job. And oh my God, what do they do now? How do they make these things work anyway? What's involved in it? What's going on? These are PTA moms. They're very accomplished individuals usually, but they've probably gotten off of the career track or they're juggling everything in the world. And in either case, they don't necessarily have a whole lot of time to learn about how to put on this thing that they're choosing to put on. What we do is we give them the IT infrastructure underneath it. Everything they're going to need all the tools they're going to need to execute their event other than things like a caterer and a venue. Can't get those through software. But anything you can, let's sell your tickets. Let's catalog all of your auction items and let's merchandise them and let's set up a bidding system for them so that people can participate. Nowadays, the trend is all to do bidding on your phone rather than on bid sheets and with paddles and things. So we can support all of that. And at the end, of course, we couple payment processing into this and we couple reporting. So we give everybody kind of a turnkey toolbox that they can use to produce a fundraising event.
Okay.
So that's the overview. That's the answer to question number one.
Yes, we'll get in there. We're gonna break it down, but that's good. Okay, so I want to stop there.
All right.
So number one, I do enough of these shows, and myself included as an entrepreneur. I think it's great lesson, folks out there. Just assume. It may seem like it should just be a common thing. Do not assume it's already done.
Never.
Right?
Never.
I know when I looked for my business names and stuff, I have two business names. I thought they were taken for sure. And
Sure.
I almost just said, well, screw it. I'll just get something. I'm like, no, check.
Check.
Biggest
Do
ways.
the work.
And I checked. I was like, now I can have the names I want. So I was like, and there's times I'm like, there has to be a show on this. There has to be, and there isn't.
Yeah.
So you're a great example of thinking something up. Something
Yeah.
seems like it could be just commonplace, but it's not.
Well, and I will say this, there were competitors when we did this, and the reason that I didn't like any of the companies that were in the space at the time was because of their business models. And let me explain. When you're going to put on a fundraising event, if you engage a company like mine, there is a really high chance that part of the way that company is going to price its services is by taking a percentage of what you raise at your event. There may be a license fee in addition to that. There may be some upfront costs, or maybe, it's software. So there can be all sorts of complicated ways you can price the product. And if you're selling to a Fortune 500 company, go crazy, baby. Go crazy. Build the craziest freaking pricing structure you want. They've got professional buyers. They can interpret it. They can negotiate. When I got into this, remember, my point of view is I was a PTA president at that time and a software industry guy. And I looked around and I thought, no way I want to give any software company a percentage of what I'm raising at my event. I don't have to, and I don't want to. Like, I'll pay for software the way I pay for software, which is I'll give you a license fee. I'll pay my license fee and then I've got my software and then I wanted to use it. And there was nobody at the time that was doing that. And and it makes a certain amount of sense to have a variable cost kind of pricing structure like that for professional charities that again probably have access to a lawyer. And for really, really tiny events where maybe they can't afford a regular license fee. So you kind of do a little of this and a little of that to help them through for a little while. But our whole mission, our whole point of view is we want to help you raise money. I want to make enough money that I can pay my bills, feed my programmers. But I also really believe in the concept of enough. And once I make it enough, I don't have to make any more. It's okay.
So, make me clear for people at home
Yeah.
watching this because you hear the word fundraiser. So we want to
Hmm.
make sure you guys understand this isn't a GoFundMe thing or
No.
something totally different. We're talking actual events that has a fundraising component.
Yeah. And almost all of these, we're talking about registered nonprofit organizations with a 501c3 tax identification number. Now, this can include things like PTAs. They can get those numbers, and they do. They have them. Any organization that you can make a charitable donation to and expect some kind of tax deduction in return, some sort of ability to write it off on your taxes, those are the types of organizations we work with. Those are the types of events. Um, we occasionally will work with a for-profit company that wants to do an event to raise money for United Way or something like that. We'll work with them on those. But other than that, no, this is charities that need to fundraise. And James, I'll tell you, the reason why I'm going out and talking more about it this year in particular is because there's a lot of funding pressure on all nonprofits in our country right now.
Oh,
Um, Everything is upside down with the suspension, review, and cancellation of many, many, many federal grants since the beginning of the year. And we don't have to talk politics. I don't need to get into that. Just let me say that that is a shock to the system and it continues downstream. So private foundations are under a lot of stress right now to pick up the slack for the federal grants that are not there. They're starting to push back on charities saying, hey, there's too many of you out there, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so,
yeah, I know. I know
this is what we're talking about.
it's hard not to go super political right now. I have many things I would like to say, but I'm not going to either.
Nah,
Not the podcast for it, but I'm glad you mentioned it. It's good. It's still life. We can mention just a bit that this is what's going on. So more schools, school districts, associations may need to come to this kind of
absolutely.
right.
Churches, sports leagues,
Yes.
things like that. One of the customers we work with on a regular basis is Young Life. We work with a lot of Young Life chapters across the country there. It's a beautiful organization full of great people in it, and they put on these lovely fundraisers that are kind of mid-sized fundraisers, and they just do 200 of them a year, 600 of them, however many they do, a lot.
Yeah. So, folks, let me just say, so these are fundraising. These are fundraising options at events that are happening. Uh,
Exactly.
and then again, for sports teams, for art class, for what it could be anything, winter for
Right.
whatever, right?
And let's address the role that events specifically play in the fundraising mix for charities, because there's basically two things to know about the way people think about events. One, that any nonprofit or charity that can afford to hire fundraising talent, so the kinds of people who know lots of fat wallets and can ask to get into their wills, and if you can do that, you absolutely should. It's definitely the best way to raise money. But assuming that you don't know that many fat wallets that are close to death, what else are you going to do? Right. And events are a way that organizations without highly developed fundraising talent can run a fundraiser, because you can kind of do an event like it's the Little Rascals. It's like Sparky, go sell some tickets, and Darla, go get some auction items.
Yeah.
Talking about references here that go back a ways. Okay.
Yes.
I just read that out of my Filofax. How's that?
There we go. I love
There
it.
we go.
I'll see you
The
at facts and check you with microfiche.
ooh,
There you go.
so events fit in there. But generally at organizations that do have the high end talent, they don't want to do events. They think of them as day class A. They think of them as not worth the time, not worth the effort. And they have generally high end development people have an attitude that events, well, I guess I'll do one if I can get it to break even, but I'm not treating it as a big part of the fundraising mix. You know who does not think that way? The local PTA.
I would say, yeah, I know
The
that's right.
local PTA looks at their event as their primary fundraiser, and so they know how to make money from them. And the bigger charities could take a lesson from the schools and the churches that do these and actually rely upon them for their fundraising mix. Because right now, with all the pressure everywhere else in the system, organizations that are not running events need to consider at least bringing them back into their mix.
Well, the whole thing is, and I know this for a fact. So I'm involved in so many things. Um, a lot of schools rely on their community. So
Yes,
that's parents, alumni, local businesses to help
yes.
fund them. It's like, so it's a whole bringing back, putting back in situation. So
These
fundraising
things,
is
yeah,
all.
they always have the feel of a barn raising. Like we're getting together in our community to build something for our community to use. This is going to benefit us. We need to come together and do this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's just kind of that's. So I'm gonna say. So it's. I know people know that it really is happening more and more. I have grandchildren and I have great nieces and nephews or grand nieces and nephews. They call them. Their schools always got some fundraiser going on, effort going on for something for cheer for this. So, so I'm just saying
Mhm.
that it's you're very smart because this is something that I mean there's a billion schools out there. First of all, I mean
There are.
market is like, I mean, if I get into the weeds of business, your target market is perfect. I mean, yeah, it's like you can go anywhere with this. I mean, it's not even. And was that a thought also when you thought the idea after you go, wait a minute, this can go anywhere
Well,
or not?
funny you should mention that, James.
Okay, tell me,
Okay.
break
So
the.
in the first, and when we go back to the origin story of the company, I go meet with these couple of guys who've just written a piece of software and they want to turn it into a company, and they don't have a name. They don't have a name for the company yet, and they had named the product Tofino Auctions. Now, Tofino is a city in British Columbia, but it's tiny. It's not even a city. It's a tiny little place in British Columbia. But great climbing, great rock climbing there. Really beautiful, fantastic place. Go if you can. And they said, you can change the name if you want. If you're going to be the marketing guy, you should know that we don't really care about the name. You can take over. And I said, well, at the minute, for the moment, we'll leave it because it's kind of pretty. It's kind of a pretty word, Tofino. Okay. But then I started doing some research and I started playing around. And one of the things I came across is the fact that 75% of the fundraising events put on in the United States every year are put on by schools. That's where the bulk is. It's not necessarily where the highest dollars are, but it's where the bulk of all the auctions are.
I believe it.
Yeah, so we did that. We started playing around on. I went to Google AdWords and I set up an AdWords campaign. One of the things you can do there is you can put a display URL in. So I bought 50 or 60 domain names and I just used them to test things out. And schoolauction.net got the greatest response. So we decided that was the name.
So I work in Hollywood, and one of my mentors 10 years ago had taught me the whole thing about sometimes keep a name simple and people need to know exactly what you are within the first few seconds.
Hmm.
They're short attention spans. So that's what's out there. So if you notice, all my shows, my network are very simple. They're not fancy stuff.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I get a lot of hits
Yeah.
because they type in a word, event planning, or all
Yeah.
I pop up.
Yeah. You got nice, good generic terms in there. It's like,
Yeah.
holy Moses, man.
And
Access,
so one thing about
event planning.
solutions, that's
Yeah.
literally we know what you're talking about.
You literally know what you're talking about. This is what we are. And, most people, I will say this, you're in the event planning world. I'm in the event planning world. We're talking to a bunch of event planners. We know the deal. Most people out in the world want to stop thinking about their event as fast as they can once it's over. And those of us on the inside, we think about events 365, so 24/7, 365. And so I say we're in the tribe. We're in the tribe of people who put these things on and know how to do it and aren't flustered by them and can get it done. And my primary role, the one that I want to play in that part of the industry, is educator. I really want to be out there teaching people how to put on these events in a way that's going to, open their eyes and make them a lot of money. And so, yes, you buy software when you come to us, but you also get to talk to me and the rest of our team, and we're
Right
awesome.
there, just talking to Roger, you just that's the price for admission. I want to ask you a question
Go ahead.
because I'm an old person.
I
So,
think you and I are peers, but
yep,
that's okay.
you're old too. I,
Yeah, exactly.
I,
We,
um, I mean, I have degrees and stuff, but I like to think. I mean, there's sometimes when it comes to technology, I didn't grow up with technology, so I gotta like learn it. So my question to you is: I know a lot of folks my age and older will ask this: is it user friendly? I mean, I've been to your website, but I haven't used it. Obviously, I've seen it, but is it user friendly?
so when we prioritize the maintenance and the development, the ongoing development of the software, when we continue to develop it, I will tell you that job number one at the top of the list, the highest priority is always credit card security.
Yes.
Number two is user friendliness in the interface there. And the reason why is pretty simple. I referred to this earlier. Most of the people I'm working with are not event planners. Most of them just volunteered at the wrong time. And they generally have too much to do anyway, because the people who get stuff done tend to be the busiest people in the room,
All
right?
of us, of course. Yes, I'm busy.
Exactly. So they're really, really busy. They don't have time to learn this nonsense. And furthermore, if I sell to a customer and then I work with them the next year, in between events, they've forgotten all of it.
Right.
They just do, because who wants to keep thinking about your event software after your event is over? No, this is now that you've done that and you've fulfilled your obligation, you move on and you take care of other things.
Yes.
So, user friendliness in the interface is the difference between me retaining a customer or losing them. And I only make money if I hang on to my customers for 4 or 5 years,
Okay.
really.
That's okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's an investment for a while, especially when we're talking about smaller groups, sometimes you kind of got to get the wheel rolling, get them pointed downhill for a little while before you can actually um, before it actually pays off. But
Yeah.
that's okay. In the meantime, I'm helping to put playground equipment on playgrounds and computers in the library and that kind of stuff. And I couldn't feel better about that work.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's very rewarding work. So I'm like, yeah, you put arts in school, back in schools, and PE equipment. I mean, I'm sure all that stuff. I mean, sure all that stuff is it. Um, Breaking it down. So when someone gets your software,
Yeah,
as we said, it's an event planning show. So again, can't help you. Can't help you with location. Can't help you with no catering. Can't help you. What
right.
it help you with is the actual maintenance, on-site maintenance before, during, and post events. Correct?
Absolutely. Before the event, we're doing event prep stuff. You're selling your tickets, you're producing all of your collateral that you're going to use to merchandise your auction at the event. You're getting everything into the database so that it's ready to go. On the night of the event, job number one is processing all of the guests through the event. Because not only are you just saying, "Oh, hi, you're here," you have to equip them. If you're doing mobile bidding, you have to tell them how to get logged in. If you're doing paddles, you have to give them a paddle. There may be, the usual stuff like seating assignments and meal choices and things like that you have to manage. But you also have to set yourself up to make sure that the organization gets paid on all of the commitments that are made during the course of the event. And if you do not do that, your event will shrink. You may think you raised $100,000, and after it's all over, you've really only collected, say, $80,000. Or you think you've raised $12,000, but you've only collected four. And that can be really, really problematic. And so building the systems in to ensure that the organization is going to get paid for the commitments that are made is a big deal. So we have a protocol. It's a common protocol in the industry. When a guest arrives at the event, we ask them for a credit card. We swipe it, we store it securely in a place where we can't retrieve the card number and nobody else can get it, and it's totally safe, but it's there and we can charge it later. The guest doesn't have to be there, etc. Great. That's called check-in. We get them in the door, they go off, then they make all of their commitments. Then we have to get all those commitments recorded so that we can decide what their bill is, and then we have to charge them and
Yeah.
then send them home, hopefully without making them stand in any lines at the end of the night. Because one of the real bummers about fundraising events in particular is that guests want to go home at 10 o'clock, and you might still have work you need to do if you haven't prepped really well ahead of time. You may still have an hour's worth of work that requires those guests to be there, and they're getting cranky and they don't want to be there and they want to go home. Kiss the kids, send the babysitter home.
Right.
Don't flip those.
Yeah.
So we build in the payment system there, and all of that is there to ensure that balls don't get dropped.
Right.
That during the course of the evening, really things are not going to slip through the cracks there. If you're just following the protocols that we've got set up in there.
How easy is to actually have tech support?
Mm.
I always think it's a big question too for us old folks. Is it chatbot? Is it we call? I mean, is it 24 hours? Is it and during the event are you available? Like what how does that work?
It's a huge question. It's a huge thing we had to crack. We are continually improving upon it. When you're working in advance before the event, so doing all the stuff to get ready, selling your tickets, cataloging your items, doing all of that work, you do have access to a support team. They work business hours out here in Portland. So after 6 o'clock or so, wait till tomorrow. But you have access to a support team. You have access to lots of built-in contextual documentation. So pretty much every time you might type something into the software, the place where you would type it is called a field. Every field has got a little explainer that you can access anytime you want. We have training videos built in throughout the software. So we've got all the documentation built in, including videos, short videos, 2 to 4 minutes that pop up and tell you how to do a particular thing. And then this summer, we've added a chat bot.
Okay.
Yeah, we've added a chat bot. I'm telling all my customers, you tell me how well it works afterwards.
That's very
I'm not entirely sure it's going to be great, but we have trained it only on our documentation, so it shouldn't hallucinate too much. And we'll see how well it does. But we think that that's going to be really important because, a key element of working with this particular market is that this particular market, think of the PTA mom. She's not working on the auction during her work day. She's not working on her auction during her family time, not when she's taking the kids to soccer practice or whatever. She's doing it in her volunteer time. And how much of that is there in a day? Less than the other buckets, right? And oftentimes it happens really late at night. So
yes.
I tell my customers, it's like if you're up at 2 in the morning, entering in auction items, and many of them are.
I don't really
That last week before things are going on, and they can be burned in the midnight oil. It's like the chat bot is here to help you during those hours. The rest of us are asleep. And then, of course, yes, on event night you get telephone support up until I think 10 p.m. Pacific time. So for my East Coast customers, that's way after they've gone to bed.
Yeah, I would say you have to East Coast up. But I was just curious. That's a big deal too nowadays. It's like, is there support, IT or tech support, or any kind of?
It,
Yeah,
we have to. We absolutely have to. There's a lot of moving pieces in the software. Nobody's gonna know all of it. Nobody's gonna be a whiz. It's okay, But yeah, that's how we make that work.
I love it. I mean, it sounds very straightforward and very useful. Um, that's really all the questions I really had for you. Because I was just curious about how
Yeah,
I really wanted to let people know that there's something out there that's straightforward,
yeah,
use, and possibly beneficial because, like I said, school's starting again
yeah.
for many of us. And
Well, let me interject one piece of advice for your audience in particular here. Okay, for the professional event planners. Um, because we see this whole process that starts maybe 6 months before the event and ends 2 weeks after the event, we see this as an integrated process where things build on each other. We've built full service software that goes end to end. Oftentimes, when I work with a group and it's a professional event planner, they wouldn't have started thinking about bidding software until after they've started selling their tickets and maybe they've done a whole bunch of other things. And then they kind of have a hard time because they got to integrate that work that's already been done into the flow and into the software there. So I would say if you have charity customers, et cetera, don't think of auction software as bidding software. That's a piece you append onto your event. Think of it as event management software for a particularly proscribed, narrow type of event, which is a fundraising gala.
we're talking fundraising galas, folks. Fundraising
Exactly. or an online auction, or so there's twists.
But that's what would you say? Again, it's not for a fundraising of a company. It's not for
Well, right, not yeah. And I just want to tell the event planners out there, don't piecemeal a solution together. Really, you don't have to buy mine, but buy something that's integrated because it just saves you so much work. If you
yes.
come to me and you've sold half your tickets through Eventbrite already, it's like, okay, all right, we'll work on it, but
It's
yeah,
still,
we can make it work.
still talk to you. No,
Absolutely, and I'll help you because we know how to do that. But it would be easier on you if you had an integrated thing where everything is part of an integrated process. Because at the end of the day, it's all about moving those wallets through the room, sucking money out of them, and putting it in the bank account.
yes, and it all be accounted for, itemized, all that stuff. And so
All of that good stuff.
guys have that all unlocked. He has it all where it's all there. Um, and we love records, and they have records of all that stuff, so it's all
Yeah.
transparent. So we love that. I mean, that's just what because, like you said, when it comes to fundraising and it involves money, other people's money, be a little tricky. So good to know. Safe space. Everything's fine for credit cards. Safe. We
Yep.
got today too. It's like so many data breaches out.
If we need to, if we need to collect any permissions from a guest or we need to collect any information from them, we can build that into the ticket sales process. So when you buy your ticket, I can ask you, would you like a gluten-free meal? Or I can say, what homeroom was your kid in?
Also,
Or
also assuming with this, all of a sudden you have an email list,
sure.
mailing list, don't you, out of this too?
Well,
Or,
I'm not going to have a mailing list of potential guests to your event.
okay,
What I do have is I do have a lot of information on companies that donate items to auctions. So that's helpful for
okay,
definite sure.
okay, very good. Well, thank you, Roger Devine. Thanks for being on the show. What a pleasure.
James, I'd like to come back if you'll have me.
I'll totally have you. I'll totally have you come back.
All right.
So tell folks, okay, all your information, like where they can. I mean, I
Sure.
think schoolauction.net is the website, but tell me what to get because I also found you a place. So tell me where you can find you.
Yep. www.schoolauction.net is where we keep, the portal, the entry, that you can sign up for the software there. You can take a demo, et cetera, et cetera. If you want to get in touch with me personally, my email address is Roger, Roger, at schoolauction.net. Pretty easy to remember. And I'm here to take questions and calls all the time. Love to work with any organization that's interested, but even if you're doing your gala with somebody else and you just want to kibitz a little bit, I'm happy to talk with people.
Yeah, I always say vet people, check people out. Just you never know,
Absolutely.
might be a good fit. Um, I'm James Lott Jr. I'm still devoted to talking about events and event planning issues, including companies who are doing stuff like this. We'll have back for some other stuff later down the
Yeah.
line. It's just it's I got into it by accident a grillion years ago, and just stayed in it. I mean, I just kind of stayed in it and found that I could do it. But
Well, we're members of the tribe, right? It's where we belong. This is where we live.
and there are a lot of us out there. There's a lot of us out there.
Yeah, there are.
I really wanted to say thank you for Roger Devine for coming on the show. We are on during the week. We release episodes on different days. I don't have a set day for the show. We just put them out when we feel like putting them out. So you'll just follow us at all audio. Let me say it correctly. All audio streaming service platforms. We are there on Apple, Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Castbox. We're everywhere. Under All Access event planning. There's also another all access something else. It's not us, but it's all access event planning. So check that out there. We're also, of course, if you're watching us, we're on the granddaddy of them all, YouTube, under JLJ Media. That's the place, right? YouTube's changing. YouTube is getting much more important. People are really they're looking at TV things.
It's still the largest podcasting platform out there, right?
Yes, it is. And so that's why I'm here. So anyway, and to all the schools out there, I support all of your programs. I just blindly support all your programs and all your fundraising efforts to keep stuff going. Please keep it going, whatever it is. I support it. I'm James Lott Jr. I'll talk to you next time.